All right, we're going to dive into a really fascinating study today. It gets to the bottom of a feeling I'm sure we've all had. You look something up and then poof, it's gone just a few seconds later. But here's the thing. It turns out this isn't some kind of memory failure. Nope. It's actually a sign that the internet is, well, fundamentally rewiring how our brains work. I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You need to know some random fact, you whip out your phone, you find it on Google, and then 30 seconds later, it's just gone. It's like it vanished into thin air. You remember searching for it, sure, but the actual answer? Nowhere to be found.
Okay, so here's the good news. You're not losing your mind. Phew. According to this research, what you're going through isn't a memory failure at all. It's an adaptation. Your brain is actually changing its whole strategy to deal with a world where pretty much any fact is just a few taps away.
So how do we actually know this is happening? Well, the researchers started their investigation by looking for the first big clue. And that clue is that automatic, almost unconscious impulse we all have to reach for a search engine the second we're faced with a question we can't answer.
And their method was actually pretty clever. What they did was they'd stump people with some really hard trivia questions. And then, right after, they'd flash words on a screen in either red or blue. All the person had to do was say the color out loud. But here's the trick. If your brain is already thinking about a certain word, it causes this tiny delay in naming its color. It's a classic psychology test called the Stroop test.
And the results? Well, they're absolutely fascinating. After being stumped by a tough question, people took way longer to name the color for words like Google and Yahoo. I mean, just look at how much slower they were. The takeaway here is pretty clear. When we don't know something, our brain's new default reaction is to think about a computer.
Okay, so that's clue number one. We have this built-in impulse to search. But believe it or not, the story gets even more interesting. The next clue suggests that we're not just searching more, we're actually actively choosing to remember less. Yep, you heard that right. We're basically forgetting on purpose.
So, for the second experiment, the researchers had two groups type out a bunch of trivia facts. Simple enough. Now, they told Group 1 that everything they typed would be saved on the computer. But they told Group 2 that everything they typed would be immediately erased. Same facts, same task, just that one tiny but crucial difference.
And just look at what happened. The group that thought the information would be erased, they remembered significantly more of the facts. Isn't that wild? Just knowing the information was temporary basically forced their brains to do the work and actually encode it. The other group, they just outsourced the job to the computer and, let the memory go.
So this whole phenomenon actually has a name. It's called directed forgetting. And really, it's our brain making a very strategic choice. I mean, why waste precious mental energy memorizing something when you know the computer's going to do it for you, right? We're effectively outsourcing the hard work of remembering.
Okay, so if we're not bothering to encode the information itself, what exactly are our brain doing instead? Well, this brings us to the final piece of the puzzle, the solution to the whole mystery where all these clues finally come together. It turns out it's not about what we know anymore, it's about where we can find it.
And the researchers themselves really put it perfectly. They said that when we expect information to be available later, our memory is much more likely to remember where to find it than the actual details of the information itself. And the data for this is it's striking. In another one of their experiments, people were actually better at remembering which folder a fact was saved in, even when they'd completely forgotten the fact itself. It's like our brains are becoming these expert digital librarians. We're not trying to be the whole library anymore, we're just creating a perfect card catalog of where to find everything. So let's just take a step back and reframe this whole idea. This isn't a story about our memory getting worse or degrading. Not at all. It's a story about our memory adapting. It's shifting its focus from internal storage to external retrieval. And that's a really powerful and honestly, a very efficient new strategy.
All right, let's zoom out for a second and look at the big picture here. Because this isn't just about a few neat cognitive tricks. No, this research points to a fundamental redefinition of what memory even is. The internet, it's becoming like an external hard drive for our minds.
Now, there's a scientific concept for this. It's called transactive memory. And the idea is pretty simple. In any group, like a family or a team at work, we don't all remember everything, right? We kind of distribute the load. One person is the expert on birthdays, another person remembers how to fix the Wi-Fi router. It's this shared, externalized knowledge system. And here's the thing, we've always done this. This isn't new.
But what is new, what's completely different, is who our primary partner in this system is. Instead of just relying on the people around us, we now have this vast, interconnected digital partner that knows, well, pretty much everything.
The study uses a really powerful word to describe this: symbiotic. It's like we're growing together with our technology. We're forming this brand new kind of interconnected intelligence that's part human, part machine. And it's optimized for finding information, not necessarily just knowing it.
And this leads to a really profound thought from the researchers. You know that feeling of panic or even just anxiety when the internet connection drops? They say it's becoming less like a tool breaking and more like losing a part of our own memory. It's kind of like having a really knowledgeable friend who suddenly just goes silent.
So all of this leaves us with a really big, critical question to think about. We're gaining instant access to this universe of information. It's incredible. But what, if anything, do we lose in this new symbiotic relationship? That's the real question to ponder the next time you Google something that you know you're going to forget a minute later.